Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at question tags. Now question tags are a very simple element of grammar that students pick up really quickly and then never use. One of the things about question tags is that they will make your speaking much more natural, and therefore it's important to use them either when you're interacting with native speakers or perhaps when you are in an exam and discussing something with a partner. Okay, but let's look at the different ways that we use them, and also let's look at how to use them. Alright, so what I usually do at this point is I say to my students, okay, ignore this for now, tell me some things you know about me, 100%. Okay, so they'll go with something like, your name is Liam, you are a teacher. What else do we have? You work at Kaplan, and you have got a dog. Okay. You support Manchester City is normally the first one that they come up with. I don't have any room. Okay. And then tell them to come up with things they think they know. So things that maybe I told them but they can't remember, maybe they heard it from somebody around the school, so it could be something like, you lived in South Korea, which is true. Okay, maybe they say you are 35 years old, which is not true. That's actually me being nice. Usually students say I'm about 40 and then I go away and cry. Okay, maybe it could be that you don't like tea, which is true. I know I'm English, we don't all love tea. I really don't like it. Okay, and you get a bigger list. And then you tell them, okay, things you don't know about me. You've got absolutely no idea. So they'll go something like your address, your mother's name, let's see, do you have a car? Okay, these are things that they really don't know. I haven't mentioned to them at any point. Okay, and then it's now time to have a look at the question tag. So, first of all, let's start with an easy one. Let's start with this. Now, what we need to do is we need to get the subject and we need to get the auxiliary verb. In this case, it's a main verb, but we can use it as you are. And let's do this one as well. You have. And we need to turn them around. So, it looks like this. Now some of you might be thinking, well, that's not right. No, because there is an extra step. We now need to make the auxiliary verb negative. Oops, wrong colour. And that's wrong as well. Okay, so you are a teacher, aren't you? And you have got a dog, haven't you? Okay? Now, in this case, we've got our verb. So we've got is. But we cannot use something like your name. Or, for example, Manchester or Liam. We have to use the pronoun. Now, what I mean by that is I, you, he, she, they, we, it, or there. You can also use there. There are several people here, aren't there, which is one that sometimes confuses students at times. So what is that, your name? Is it I? No. You? No. It's it. So your name is Liam, isn't it? Okay? But what happens if there is no auxiliary verb? In this case, there is no auxiliary verb for us to use. So in this case, we have to add one. Now, you work at Kaplan. You have to imagine that there is a do here. Now we can make our question tag. You work at Kaplan, don't you? Okay, we're going to come on to the difference in why we're using differences in a moment. But let's just have a look at the others. You lived in South Korea. Well, there is no auxiliary verb. Again, no auxiliary. Or helping verb if you prefer. Now, we've got the past this time. So if we use do and don't here, what do you think we use here? You should be saying did and didn't. So you lived in South Korea, didn't you? You are 35 years old, aren't you? And you don't like tea. Well, we've got a negative this time. So over here we need to make the positive. You always need to change it. So you don't like tea, do you? Okay, let's look at why we use these different question tags. When it is something that you know my name is Liam, you know I'm a teacher. So why would you use this? We use it for starting a conversation. Now, if you've been to England, you might believe that we are obsessed with the weather. We're not. When somebody says to you, "Oh, it's cold today, isn't it?" They're not asking for your opinion. What they're actually doing is starting a conversation, because you say, "Yes, it's cold, and I believe it's going to be cold next week as well." That has broken the ice, and you are now having a conversation. In this case, one of my friends might come to me and say, "Liam, you're a teacher, aren't you?" "Yeah." "Right, because I'm thinking about doing a teaching course." So they want to start a conversation with me about teaching. So they use the question tag to introduce it. I now know that that's the topic of the conversation. One thing that's very important is you need to remember that this is more like a statement than it is like a question. So we can actually remove the question marks here, because it's not really a question, and your intonation needs to go down. So it would be, "Your name's Liam, isn't it? You're a teacher, aren't you? Aren't you?" So just drop at the end. One more. "You work at Kaplan, don't you? You work at Kaplan, don't you?" So your intonation will drop. However, when we come to here, this time we are using it to check information. It's something that you think you know, but you want to check with the person. So you think that I lived in Korea, but you're not quite certain about that. And this time it is a question. So this time your intonation needs to go up. So we've got, "Liam, you're 35 years old, aren't you? Aren't you?" Like a question. "You lived in South Korea, didn't you?" And also notice that we've got more of a pause. So this is you asking me questions that you think you know and you want to check. Now, some of you watching this video will laugh when I ask this question. Are you good at remembering people's names? Some of you will be going, "No, I'm terrible." Sometimes you meet someone and you think, "Okay, I know this person. Daniel, David. It definitely begins with a D." So you go to them and you start to, you say, "It's David, isn't it?" And they say, no, "It's Daniel." And you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible with names." That is much better than walking up to them and saying, "Hi, what's your name?" because you've already been introduced. So this can save you quite a lot of embarrassment when you can't remember that person's name, because you know it, but you need to check it. And then if you get it wrong, you can say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Okay, so just one more time, if we take a look at these two. Liam, you're a teacher, aren't you? You're 35 years old, aren't you? Notice that even though the question tag is the same, the intonation of the question tag is very different. Now, why have I added this at the bottom? I've added this column at the bottom because you cannot use question tags with this. Do not use question tags with things that you don't know. All you do in this case is ask. Direct question. Where do you live? What is your mother's name? Do you have a car? The reason for this is, first of all, if I asked you to guess what my mother's name was, the chances are it would be very difficult for you. But if you were correct, and I had never told you this, then I might start to feel a little bit worried, a little bit nervous. Okay? The second thing is, you are very unlikely to guess. Okay, so the best thing to do is just to ask. And that's it. You'll see a little more about question tags when we come into the high intermediate grammar go-getter, where I'm going to talk about a few exceptions to these rules and how to use those. Take care.